Can you believe one college-age woman is taking the sporting world by storm? The world-famous Caitlin Clark from the University of Iowa has captivated America for the past few years. We have all taken notes on her incredible talent, her ability on the court to completely control and dominate a game. But she has not only become one of the greatest college athletes ever to put on the uniform, but she's also made incredible strides for her community and to open the door for more women in sports. Through all of this, she is taking every step with pride, pleasure, and power. For this Women's Month, let's take a look at the incredible history of Caitlin Clark, the woman who has changed the way we think about women's basketball. If you've paid attention to basketball over the past few years, you've probably realized women's basketball is on the rise. It's been increasing in popularity substantially over the past few years. This is because there has been more talent than ever. It's bringing back memories of the mid-90s with the female dream team. Because of its increased popularity, we have thousands upon thousands attending games. The most popular of these women right now is in college, Caitlin Clark. Clark has been an incredible talent during her time at Iowa. She's brought in more fans than ever, both male and female, and she has been an inspiration to kids in the area. She has taken her love of Iowa and transformed herself as more than just a basketball player, but an important piece of the culture for the region. On January 22, 2002, Caitlin Clark would be born in Des Moines, Iowa. She would grow up in the region, playing basketball starting at the age of 5 in the Boys Recreational League. Because of playing in competitive boys leagues at a young age, she was able to surpass many of the girls around her. As she got older, she would end up playing up in many of the leagues. By age 13, she began playing with high schoolers for the AAU girls team. Clark would also be inspired by the Minnesota Lynx, her local team, as a child, and she would root for Maya Moore, who was one of her favorite players. This inspired Clark to work harder than anyone else around her. Clark would dominate in high school, playing all 4 years on the varsity team. Each and every season, she got better during her 4 years. She would rack up recognition and awards in her early high school career. But on February 4th, 2019, she would put herself on the map as a junior for everyone. She scored 60 points in one game with 13 threes. She would be named Iowa Gatorade Player of the Year in her junior season, and by her senior season, she would continue to dominate. She would be named Iowa Miss Basketball, Iowa Gatorade Player of the Year, and McDonald's All-American. Because of her incredible skills, she was put on the map for many colleges. However, most knew that they did not have a chance of recruiting her, as from the age of middle school, she had her dreams set on an Iowa school. She would end up selecting the University of Iowa and completely changed the game of college basketball forever. On November 25th, 2020, Clark would make her debut as the starting point guard for Iowa, and she would make an instant impact. She would score 27 points in her first game. Clark would help Iowa to a very strong season, finishing second in the Big Ten tournament. The national spotlight began on Clark during the NCAA tournament when she helped lead Iowa to the Sweet 16, breaking several records along the way. Even though Iowa would get bounced from the tournament, Clark would capture several individual awards during the season. She'd be an All-American, Co-Freshman of the Year, and she would also be the first freshman to win the Dawn Staley Award. The national attention would be on Clark and Iowa during her sophomore season. Her sophomore season would take off with a bang, becoming the fastest Big Ten player to reach 1,000 career points. She would also become the first men's or women's player to record consecutive triple-doubles with at least 30 points. She would also become the first women's Big Ten player to record consecutive triple-doubles. She would lead Iowa to the Big Ten title for the regular season, winning Big Ten Player of the Year. She would once again dominate for Iowa, winning several awards. Iowa would once again have another disappointment. They would be upset in the second round of the NCAA tournament. Even though Caitlin Clark led the women's NCAA tournament in total points, free throws, triple-doubles, her sophomore season ended in disappointment. Clark's junior season would open with big expectations. She would be selected as unanimous AP preseason All-American and would be the Big Ten preseason Player of the Year. Media coverage was all over Clark in Iowa. Opposing coaches knew that they would have to focus on Clark if they wanted to stop Iowa. Clark would begin the season with an ankle injury, but she would not miss a step. She would totally dominate the Big Ten and NCAA. She would surpass Samantha Logic as Big Ten career leader in triple-doubles. Clark would tie Elena Del Don as the fastest woman in D1 history to reach 2,000 points. Clark would once again win Big Ten Player of the Year in unanimous fashion. She would lead Iowa to its second consecutive Big Ten tournament championship. Clark would also move to second in D1 history for triple-doubles, behind Sabrina Ionescu. The Iowa team would have a much more successful tournament run this time around, with Clark scoring 41 points to upset undefeated South Carolina. During this tournament run, Clark's scoring took precedent. She would have consecutive 40-point games, being the first woman in tournament history to do it, and she would also break the semifinals NCAA women's tournament record for the most points scored. Clark would also surpass Iowa and Big Ten single scoring season records as well. Though they would have a magical season, Iowa would get blown out in the championship against LSU. There would also be a controversy during the game about the competitiveness between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. LSU would finish their dominance, winning 102-85. Even though Iowa would miss a tournament championship, Clark would have an incredible season. Clark broke the men's and women's tournament scoring record for a single NCAA tournament, and her 60 assists were the most by a woman in NCAA tournament history. Clark won all the major awards that season, including AP Player of the Year, Honda Sports Award, the John Wooden Award, Naismith Player of the Year, and many others. Her season was truly dominating and unprecedented. The only thing missing was a ring. Which brings us to the dominating senior season for Caitlin Clark. Clark started the season with extremely high expectations. She was expected to win Big Ten Player of the Year. She was expected to be a finalist for AP Player of the Year and an All-American. She passed Kelsey Plume's record for the most 30-point games in women's D1 history. On December 6, 2023, she became the 15th player in D1 history to reach 3,000 points and was the second fastest to reach that mark. She would also share Sporting News Athlete of the Year with Angel Reese, and she would finish behind Simone Biles for AP Female Athlete of the Year. A few weeks later after this, she would become the Big Ten's all-time leader in assists and breaking the conference record for the most times named Big Ten Player of the Week. On February 15th, she would surpass Kelsey Plume as the all-time NCAA D1 college women's scoring leader. She would then pass Lynette Woodard as the all-time NCAA scoring champion for women. Then on March 3rd, she would take it to the next level when she scored 35 points to surpass Pete Maravich as the all-time scorer in NCAA history, either men's or women's. She would round out the season breaking the record for the most three-pointers in a single season and sweeping the Big Ten awards. She would also once again bring Iowa another Big Ten championship, making it their third consecutive in a row. Caitlin Clark has big expectations for the March Madness tournament, with many eyes being on her. But it's Clark's influence off the court that has been incredible. The work she's done for women's sports is unbelievable. She has become an icon for her community, helping out at camps, interacting with little fans, and being a great person and ambassador for the University of Iowa. What do you think is next for Caitlin Clark? Thank you so much for watching this little documentary about one of the greatest basketball players in history. Believable Truths.